we are out actively looking for historical boats, either on loan or to purchase, to put into that museum. And I'd love to have a gull wing Coronado.
Yes.
And I'd love to have a boat like you just described. We have a 53 16-footer.
Yep.
That's been in our lobby for quite some time, and it's now up in the museum.
Oh.
But yeah, we're trying to find a curator for the museum. Yeah, we really have not had much of a presence in the Canadian market, and so we are trying to bolster our activities there. We don't have a dealer there yet, but we are in active discussions with one. We probably need 2 or 3. Canada is a large place, and or maybe we could have 20. That would be fantastic, but we'll start small to start with. But in the meantime, we are doing a lot more social media and outreach to the Canadian region in the hopes that they will call into the factory, into our corporate headquarters, express the interest in the boats, and we'll be able to help them. Since we don't have a dealer in the region, we can help them directly.
Yeah.
So we're also in the process, and I'd say it would be up in the next month or two, of creating a store on our site where you can effectively see any stock boats or configure your own and press a button, put a deposit down with a credit card, and purchase a boat. So we want to make sure that our Canadian, there's a loyal following of Century past and present owners in Canada.
Yes, absolutely.
The dealer has told us that, and that's why they reached out to us unsolicited to inquire if they could represent us. So we have 8,000 different past and present Century customers that we have just recently, in the last week, compiled in a spreadsheet with mailing address and some phone numbers and others, and we're getting email addresses. So we are creating a Century Club, of which those 8,000 will become members because they've had a previous relationship. And anyone else who wants to join, who has an interest and wants to follow the brand, we'll have a Century Club, and we'll be able to interface and engage with those people moving forward. We'll be able to tell them about the museum. We'll be able to offer them specials and discounts and trade-ins, and be able to direct them to their nearest dealer. And it'll be a great way for us to interact with them. So
Wonderful.
We're excited about that. There's not many brands out there that have that level of past and present owners.
Now, and you've purchased Vanquish.
Yes. So my background is I'm a 4th generation shipbuilder. I was in construction at Newport News Shipbuilding on submarines, had responsibility for the torpedo room, the auxiliary machine room, and the ballast tanks, and the first construction and testing of the vertical launch cruise missile system. So
Wow.
I did that. That was the USS Oklahoma City, delivered that submarine. At the same time, I received my MBA, and I went on to finance roles after that. So ultimately becoming CFO of 4 different private equity owned portfolio companies, and I helped them to liquidity events. After the 4th one, I decided to semi-retire and get back into the maritime business, and I created a small boutique investment bank called Anchors Away Capital.
Okay.
And through that business, I've been helping a multitude of different boat manufacturers and dealers and marinas over the last eight years or so. And I've gotten to see and know many different brands. And so Century became a client of mine in late 2018, and we had a very good, effective working relationship. They were interested in raising capital to spur their growth. And I became so enamored with the brand that I ended up going out and raising a fund to purchase a controlling interest in the business.
Okay.
We were fortunate that the current ownership group, or the previous ownership group, was interested in staying on. So Brian and his dad were the primary owners of Century and Brian has stayed on as the head of sales for the business. And John is in a advisory capacity, specifically on new products.
Okay.
So we completed that in mid-March. And then on the heels of that, I had another client, Vanquish Boats, who I've been working with for a year, not quite as long as Century. Helped him on a number of initiatives that he had, Morgan Huntley had underway.
Yep.
And then ultimately felt like when I ended up purchasing Century, felt like the Vanquish would be a great product line addition.
Sure.
And so, if you don't know the story of Vanquish, the original founder had a love affair with the Century Coronado. So he went to find the tools and found them, and they were decrepit. So he ended up going to Doug Zern and asking him to create a modern day Coronado, which Doug did. And that's how the Vanquish, it was called Vanguard at the time, now Vanquish, was created. And so we feel at Century that we're in effect bringing the Coronado back home with that acquisition. So that happened in early April. And Morgan, who was running the business, came on board to run production and our product development. So he's our chief operating officer.
We're seeing a lot of emphasis on day boats, and I noticed the Centuries are up to, sort of 32 foot.
Right.
I think that's in the zone.
That's right. We have plans to go a little bit larger.
Okay.
We ultimately like to hit a 36 and a 42 to complement our current boats on the Century side. We're also looking at producing boats that are 20 foot and below in size. We're in some discussions right now on the potential M&A that would bring a product line in that would be on the smaller side. We want to be able to have customers come into the brand at whatever price point they can. We want to be known as a broad offering of products across multiple product lines for different situations, lifestyles, approaches. And so that's a build out that we'll do over time. So we're really set up to grow the business substantially from where it is today. We'd like to see Century production double and Vanquish production, which was more of a niche brand previously, triple. Over the next 12 to 18 months, we'll see quite a bit of an increase in the products that we offer and the number of boats that we sell.